Oh shit! Where'd the live dashboard go? No, wait, we're good.
Wait, are we live?
We are YouTube live. Yeah.
Oh, dude, hold on. Let me get my. Are we like live right now? Hey, what up?
We are live right now. Yes.
What up? I'm gonna try to fix my camera then, so they can not see my.
He's like, let me try to put it on my face now.
Yeah, I didn't realize they could see my gorgeous face.
They're like, what?
I mean, they could see your voluptuous chest too. I mean, just
it's a pretty good looking chest. I mean, I don't have any problems with it. No qualms.
Hey.
Welcome to Beer Field Fantasy Football. It is episode 300. So yeah, fun little milestone there.
300?
Yeah, 300 episodes into this thing. Entering our fourth season. Their fourth season doing this. But 300 episodes. We didn't know if we'd make it 5. So thank you everybody that still listens, like the 30 of you or whatever it is. We certainly do appreciate it. Welcome to Beer Field Fantasy Football, though. I think I already said that. I am your host at Hop BFF with 2 P's, Chris Hopper, joined by my esteemed, actually in Scott Fishbowl, repping Scott Fishbowl co-host, Dan Thury BFF. Dan?
I'm alive.
Good.
It was a pretty interesting weekend full of crazies and beer selling and a lot of drinking. So, yeah.
Alive makes for better podcast. Hey, before we introduce our guest, are you doing a fantasy football draft in 2020? Because if you're listening to the show, I bet you are. So you need to get the Fantasy Headliners Draft Guide. They actually do work, unlike us. They do a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of grinding, a lot of stats insight. Offensive line, you got it. Coaching changes, you got it. Free agency moves, you got it. All projected, all out there. For the low price of $19.99, thefantasyheadliners.com, promo code beer. Get in, get entered to win a signed DJ Moore jersey. But have that in your back pocket for all of your drafts because it's going to be way better analysis than we give you. We just kind of give opinions at this point. That being said, for the actual show, we're going to talk about the NFC North. So to do that, we got the only Lions fan we know. We actually have recorded a podcast with this guy before, but it never saw the light of day. So this is kind of the first. Finally got to meet him last year at Midwest FF Expo, I believe it was, up there in Ohio. Yes. Got to hang out with him most of the weekend. Absolutely awesome dude. You heard in the intro. It's going to be a fun time. Nick Faber joins us. Nick, go ahead and promote yourself.
First and foremost, even before I promote myself, 1, it's an honor to be on the show. Thank you, guys. 2, I'm flabbergasted that I was, picked to be the guest on the 300th episode. That's a huge milestone. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for anyone listening who does want to hear a little bit more about me, like I said, I am a diehard Lions fan. I host a Lions Brawl podcast found on Twitter at Lions Brawl. We're doing a Kenny Golladay signed jersey giveaway and shit. A bunch of fun stuff. I don't know. Just go follow us on Twitter. You'll find it. And then I do a couple fantasy football shows live on Wednesdays on YouTube at 8:30. The Fantasy Football Rabbit Hole and Downtown Fantasy Football. So, yeah, there's no shortage of my voice. That's for sure.
Nor should there be. Super entertaining guy. Hey, this is a kid's show, by the way.
Oh, well, I need to leave. No. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
And that's the show.
And it's not
there we go.
And that's the show. We lost the only Lions fan in existence. Oh, man. All right, we're going to talk about the NFC North. Let's just go ahead and get straight into it because I can't transition off of that any better. By the way, I'm going to let you keep thinking that you're special, and that's why I brought you on for the 300th episode, and not that we didn't realize it was a 300th episode until 5 minutes ago.
Thank you. That's going to help me sleep at night. That's going to help me sleep better, just knowing that I was picked out of like about a list of 80 people is what I'm assuming.
Yes.
Bracketed down to 1, and that one
was you.
I think it's more impressive that you think that we have a list of 80 people.
We might.
And by 80 people, I mean my name, 80.
I don't know. Let's just
That's
spend
right.
the first 30 minutes of the show counting them all up. Let's see if we can get to 80.
Oh, that's great.
What's fueling Beer Fueled?
All right, Dan, we'll start with you. What are you drinking on?
I am drinking Surly Furious IPA.
Huh.
It's like, again, I like to bring on a beer that represents the division that we're talking about. So I wanted to kick it back to the home state and bring on their flagship beer. It's a malt forward, a kind of unique IPA, more like an APA, but we'll get my thoughts on it later.
All right, Nick, what are you drinking on?
It's this humble brew. It's kind of popular now. It wasn't for a long time, but really saw a spark in interest probably, I'd say about 12 months ago. And since it sparked, and once it hit, I mean, it was like Patrick Mahomes, right? It just dropped and there was nothing better. There was no replacement. And they tried, there was many that went out and tried to replicate, but not replicable White Claw back there.
He's drinking the Amir Abdullah of alcoholic beverages.
That might be one of the greatest like intros to a beer. I was hoping you'd be like, this is an Eric Ebron of seltzers.
No,
This is the Joint Bell of seltzers right now.
It is the joint bell of seltzers because the buildup was great and the final product not necessarily great.
It lasted about 3 minutes.
They're delicious, boys.
It lasted about
They are
delicious.
It lasted
Carbs
about
are
3
the
minutes.
enemy.
Name of your sex tape?
Name of your sex tape. That's a good one, guys.
I do drink them when I go play disc golf. I'm like pro seltzer during disc golf.
Well, you should be in the summer. It's hot. You got to hydrate.
Yeah,
That's
right.
how that works, right?
Yeah, I don't
Most
drink
days.
water anymore. I just drink White Claws.
Drinks White Claws. It's amazing.
He actually ran a marathon last week with White Claws.
Some guy handed him water. He's like, I don't want this shit.
Oh, dude,
I had him a White Claw. He's like, here we go.
I grabbed that water and I threw it back in the guy's face and I said, "Get this shit out of here!" Oh, shit, I'm sorry.
You can
What do you
cuss.
think this is,
It's not really a kid's show. You can swear.
Okay, good, because I'm about to drop a lot of swear words.
You can swear. All right. For me, I have Old Forester Statesman. So it is America Month. So I wanted to get America's spirit on for a couple shows here. As some of you know, I have a rather large collection of it. So Old Forester Statesman, 95 proof bourbon. It has loose ties to the Kingsman series, I believe is what inspired this. So yeah, full review coming up. It's not part of the Whiskey Row series. It's just another relatively common Old Forester release. And the boys at Brown Forman typically do a really good job with those. So let you know what I think about halfway through. Let's go ahead and get into the news.
News.
All right, so this first story has layers. The Chiefs signed quarterback Patrick Mahomes to a 10-year contract extension. One report had the deal at $450 million with $140 million in injury guarantees. Then Ian Rappaport came out and reported that the deal was worth $503 million. Yes, $500 million with $477 million guaranteed. Details will trickle out. We'll eventually know all of that. That's not the important question, though. I want to start this off. Josh McCown, of all people, had the most important question here. Is it more impressive to get a 10-year deal out of one team or 10 one-year deals? And
It's totally 10 one-year deals.
I think it's
Not even close.
10 one-year deals. You've sold 10 teams on your ability to contribute to that team, and I think the value that gives you as a player.
In baseball, that's very not impressive, right? That's the least impressive to do 10 one-year deals. But in NFL, that's unbelievable. That is something that I don't even, can anyone say they've done?
Josh McCown and Ryan
Josh
Fitzpatrick.
McCown?
Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's probably the only other one.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, Fitzpatrick's only played for 8 teams, right? And McCown only played for 7 teams. Like, in all honesty, I bet you could find multiple baseball players that have played for 10 teams on 10 one-year ish contracts where I don't know if you can find one in the NFL. I truly don't, but I could be wrong. Maybe McCown did do it.
Well, there's just so many players.
There's so many.
There's just so many like baseball players. It's like it's just a never-ending sea of players.
It is.
Yes.
And people coming in on minor league deals. Now, the fantasy implications for Mahomes and the Chiefs, Dan, I'm going to count the number of teams Josh McCown's played for.
Okay. So, I mean, this is good for Mahomes. I mean, like, who really thought that he wasn't going to play the next 10 years with the Chiefs? Like, no one would, like, a barring retirement or some, like, catastrophic injury, no one expects Mahomes to not be playing with the Chiefs through his 20s and 30s. So now, is a 10-year contract actually a good thing for the player? Who knows? We haven't seen the details yet. I mean, like, they say that his cap structure is based off of the percentage of the salary cap as a whole.
That came out as not being true. That is not the case.
Okay,
there's no language about percentage of the salary cap at all. That's one thing that Schefter and Rappaport did agree on.
Good, which is rare. And then it's almost worse because then he's going to be a value like the team at some point because with how much the salary cap continues to raise every year, right now he'll be this. He's not overpaid. He's too good of a football player to ever be overpaid. But this is good on the Chiefs. You lock in arguably the best quarterback we've ever seen through his first 3 seasons to a 10-year deal where most players want no more than 5. They want to be able to maximize their guaranteed money. They want to be able to maximize the market as much as they can. And Mahomes said, fuck it. I mean, good for him. I mean, he's going to get paid either way. Like, what's, 10 million more at this point. But it's good for all parties. And it's especially good for fantasy football.
But so numbers, by the way. McCown played for 9 teams. Fitzpatrick's played for 8. And Kenny Lofton, who is the major leaguer that comes to mind as having played for a ton of teams, has played for 11 MLB teams. Or played for 11 MLB teams. His career's over. But
it's very impressive by McCown. Kenny Lofton, you could do better.
I mean, 19. I mean, that is extremely impressive for McCown.
It is. He's played for. Hold on, I got this. It started with Arizona, and then he went Arizona, Detroit, Oakland, Carolina, Chicago, Tampa, Cleveland, the Jets, and ended in Philly.
Jesus.
Midwest, Northeast, really, it seems. He definitely never went out west, really.
That's true. Whereas Kenny Lofton,
he's too pale.
I mean, Kenny Lofton was kind of literally everywhere. Houston, Cleveland, Atlanta, Chicago, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Yankees, Philadelphia, Dodgers, and Houston. So all corners of the globe for Kenny Lofton.
Osaka, he played in Iran a little bit, I'm pretty sure. We saw
Ireland.
Definitely in Ireland. Ireland League he was pretty good there.
He's pretty good.
Aussie rules baseball.
I have his baseball card from that. Yeah.
All right. On to Mahomes. Back to Mahomes. It's good for fantasy. And good for dynasty if you're a Mahomes owner because he's locked in with the Chiefs. As Dan mentioned, the fact that it's not a percentage of the salary cap is a good thing because as the salary cap goes up, they're going to need to bring people in and bring pieces in around him. You don't want a quarterback contract to be an albatross to where you can't put any pieces around him. So, yeah, you definitely hope that they can continue to stock the team around him. But I think that, the fact that it is generally probably flat is a good thing for the Chiefs. Pretty much, I mean, there's going to be opt-outs and things like that in there and money negotiations. So it's absurd right now. We need to see the details of this whole thing. But
yeah, like I assume like his guaranteed money is almost all of it's within the 5 years, within the first 5 years.
Or deferred way out.
Yeah, like there's no way that they're going to risk that much dead cap in like 8 years in. Like there's just like, which is why Mahomes, like you want all that money right away. So if something does happen, you got paid.
That 477 was the injury settlement.
That's nuts.
Which is insane. Jesus. But
I mean, I know, fuck, it's so much money.
It ties in there for 12 years. He's going to be there till he's 37, which is essentially I mean, Phillip Rivers, basically. So
Yeah.
I
mean, he'll be 35 when it's over.
No, he's 12 years left. He's 25 at the beginning of the season. It was an extension. It did not override the 2 years he had remaining.
Extension.
Yep. It did not override the 2 years he had remaining, so it's 12 years with the Chiefs.
Love it.
I'd put $100 down right now that says he doesn't finish out that contract though. And it's
Of course not.
Of course not.
You know what I mean? Like I'll take that bet all day. There's
Like,
no way he's 37 playing for them, at least on that contract.
I'll be surprised if he makes it to year 7 without some sort of like reconstruction. Because like you got to imagine in like 5 or 6 years, if that, he'll be like he may not be a top 10 pay quarterback. Like it's gonna be like Scottie Pippen, but not as extreme. Where like you are gonna like the value that they're gonna get from him compared to where they are now, it's going to be insane.
Wonder what Deshaun Watson ended up getting.
Oh my god.
Nowhere close, but I bet it's gonna be hefty.
I don't
Won't be with Houston though.
like right.
So here's the way this is set up, Dan. The details are already on the Sport Track somehow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, somehow. I don't know how, but they're there.
I'm gonna look this up.
No dead cap after 2024.
Oh, I was right.
No, he has
64 million dead cap this year.
Yeah, no dead cap after 2024. The cap hit, if he played out the whole thing, would be 52 million in 2031.
That'll all be converted into most of that, because most of this will end up being converted into guaranteed money at some point while they try to find ways to save money.
Right. Oh my god, the list of provisions here is insane too. I don't even want to go through
Pat
all that.
Pat Mahomes' contract is the most complex contract the NFL seen. But like let's look at the last 5 players that get a 10-year deal in the NFL.
Has anyone ever gotten a 10-year deal? What was Brett Favre's like? Didn't he sign some extremely long contract with the Packers?
That was a lifetime contract.
Yeah,
it was a lifetime contract. Mike Vick got 10 years. Drew Bledsoe got 10 years. Donovan McNabb, Dante Culpepper, I believe, are all the people to get 10 years. So I mean, like
none of them finished it.
McNabb got to the Super Bowl, but other than that, like Bledsoe wasn't anything. Brett Favre never did anything after 2001 after that contract. Not with Green Bay, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Vick was pretty good for a few more years, and I don't know.
And none of them are Mahomes. Like none of them. Like I know, like things could happen, but
that's the thing, though. That's like the thing. That's
a lot of trust. I mean,
it is.
Oh, man.
Only 2.5 million of that is in incentive pay. There's roster bonuses and things like that. Only 2.5 million is incentive. Everything else converts to fully guaranteed basically on the 3rd day of the league year.
They're like, we just need you on some part of the field so we can sell your jersey. I don't care if you're playing. I don't care how good you're doing. You just need to be on that field, sir.
And I misspoke. Right. It did apparently, per this, override the 2 years remaining. So 2031 would be when this thing's up. He'll be 36 when he hits free agency.
That's crazy.
So,
well, good for Mahomes.
Yep. Anyway,
good for the Chiefs,
and good on the Chiefs for getting
good
that
on the Chiefs.
Deal. That's
exactly
nuts, man.
That's just that's a marriage right there. You know what I mean? And if all things go well for 10 years, you made the best deal ever right there.
It's as
you know what I mean?
as
we'll look back
too.
in 10 years though.
It's about as expensive as one also. All right. The NFLPA's Board of Representatives has unanimously voted to skip the preseason entirely. It's not official that it's going to be skipped, but worth discussing the implications because I think that that's more likely than not. And man, does that not bode well for rookies.
That hurts rookies. That hurts like first year players on new teams. That like you get a new quarterback that affects a lot of things. Like we're gonna see some sloppy football. I think the first about 2 weeks of it. Yeah. It's gonna be ugly. You may see some scoring, but you're gonna see some just bad miscommunications and.
I'd imagine the offenses are more out of sync than the defenses are.
It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be like watching a train wreck, but we're going to be scoring fantasy points while it happens.
Yeah, or lack thereof.
I guess it depends on the teams too. I suppose that's true.
It's kind of similar to the 2010 holdout, though. Like, we didn't see, there was no one got together. There was no preseason until week 4 of the preseason. And then they had that one preseason game and went right into the NFL. We actually had more scoring that year than a lot of the years past going into it. I think for the offense, after something like this, they know how to run that route. Those wide receivers have 7 routes they're running damn near. And they know how to run them in and out. And those corners and those linebackers and those safeties need to feed off of each other to know when to stop covering and when the other person is covering, especially if you're going to play a complicated defense, like a lot of the defenses are trying to run now. So if you're going to try to do like a Matt Patricia type defense with these rookies and new players, now, yes, these players, for the Detroit purposes, like, have played with Patricia, but if you haven't played with that coordinator before, then you're kind of SOL, where on offense, you just got to, yes, chemistry between your quarterback and your wide receiver, or all 5 of your offensive linemen are extremely vital. I think those can kind of bode a little bit better for you if you have no practices than they can defensively. So I think we are going to see a lot of points. I think a lot of those points are not going to be from rookies. And as Dan, you were saying, I think the quarterbacks that go on new teams, including one Tom Brady, is going to be very, very hard to watch. You'll see him struggle early and often for the first couple of weeks. And it's going to be a very interesting way people need to go about their drafts. I don't know if rookies hold as much, especially rookie wide receivers, if they hold as much value as maybe they did, especially coming after a year after like A.J. Brown, and everyone's just all hyped for these rookie receivers and they want the next A.J. Brown. And then they get these rookie wide receivers that have no chemistry, don't know how to play on that offense. It's just, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting season, that's for sure.
And remember how much A.J. Brown just did with raw athleticism after the catch, too. It wasn't like he was being schemed fantastically or anything like that.
It's true.
He just is a monster. So
he's great. Being critically undervalued right now in drafts. I don't know what his ADP is, but it's too low, whatever it is.
It's going to be you're going to see a lot more simplistic routes, and you're going to see a lot of, short slants, like you said. Like, if they're athletic, just get the ball in their hands and let them go to work. Or just let them run, deep routes. Like, what you're not going to see, or, and have trouble with is just timing routes. Like, you may not see as much of these, these ins and outs where you have to be able to hit your point. Like, you have to be able to trust your quarterback and get you the football when you make that break. A slant is just, all right, it's there, let's go.
So and I'm pretty sure in the year of the holdout that I was referring to, that was the same year that Calvin Johnson broke the record for most receiving yards, if I'm not mistaken. So, and if that is the case, if I am correct at that, remembering that, that just kind of shows even too that you might just see these Julio Jones and Michael Thomas just get peppered with footballs, just as Calvin did with Matthew Stafford, a younger quarterback.
It was 2012.
And then I'm pretty sure 2012 was the holdout. Am I right? Or was 2010 the holdout?
Yeah.
I think it was 12.
It was the Julio Jones and Andy Dalton draft. It was that draft. Because you couldn't make trades. I forgot how it went down, but you couldn't do certain I'm pretty sure you couldn't.
Hold on. What was the lockout? 2011.
Anyways. Yeah, it'd be that draft. So it'd be the 2011.
2011 NFL lockout. So it would have been the 2011 season was the lockout season.
Was I wrong on that?
You were a year off. It was the second best receiving season. 96 receptions, 1,600 yards, but the record got shattered the year after.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure if the holdout year, he started out the season with 8 touchdowns in the first 4 games. I was going to say, was that
he scored 8 touchdowns. Yeah, he scored 2 touchdowns a game for the first 4 weeks.
That might be what I may have combined the two, that and the single season record. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that it kind of showed a blueprint to what could happen this year, is that you may see these big wide receivers that you can just throw the ball up to get a lot more attention, because you're not going to have these schemed out timing plays with the Hunter Renfrows and Debo's going to be out. But those type of wide receivers, you're going to see more just huck and chuck in football.
Yeah, it was 9 touchdowns in the first 5, 11 in the first 8. I feel like fact checking tonight for some reason.
I'm glad you are.
But you are right. It was 8 in the first 4. Just 11 in the first 7 is more impressive.
I had him on fantasy that year, and I was him and Matt Stafford. It was a good year.
And then he showed up for the playoffs from weeks 14 through 16. He had
Just when I needed him.
He had 4 touchdowns and almost 600 yards.
Indeed.
Yeah. He's pretty good at football.
One last
He was
piece.
fun.
One last piece of news: Browns tight end David Njoku has requested a trade be completed before training camps begin. Probably not the best move if there's no preseason to end up on a different. Probably not the best career move.
All right, David. Good luck. We'll see you in the XFL, bud.
Aw,
What could have been?
I hope it comes back.
Hashtag bring back the AA.
Division preview.
Never the AAF. Bring back my Battlehawks. I was a Battlehawk season ticket holder.
The Battlehawks season ticket holder. That's tough.
Front of the end zone. Yeah, I mean, I got it refunded, but, you know.
Oh, okay. That's good.
All right. NFC North. Let's go ahead and start with the Packers. All right, cool. And on to the Vikings. No.
I'm okay with that.
That fell flat.
I'm all right with that. I liked it.
Okay.
Who cares about the Packers?
Let's go ahead and start with the Packers, I guess, because we have to. Do we still view Aaron Rodgers as elite for fantasy? I do not view him as elite for fantasy. I view him more as a fringe quarterback, one that has upside. And the reason I say that is that what needs to happen for Aaron Rodgers to become elite again is the touchdown percentage needs to come back up. It's not like there's been huge drop-offs really anywhere else in his game. Yards per attempt to a degree, but not major. Other than the touchdown percentage. He's been under 5% each of the last 2 years. He's a career 6%er. He'd never had a season. Well, yeah, never had a season since he took over as the full-time starter where he was below 5% until the last 2 seasons. And that coincides with Aaron Jones having 13 touchdowns, what the team's doing in the red zone, the fact that they've got using more of a power run game down there than they are using Aaron Rodgers. But that's the difference between him being elite and him just being meh and leaving you wanting more.
He's game manager. He is what Tom Brady turned into with New England towards his final years. Like he's not the same type of quarterback that he used to be. The team has shown easily this past draft that they don't want to rely on. I guess rely on him more. It's they want this to be, run focused, run heavy. He's not even a part of their future anymore. And the fact that they just gave him Adams and we like Chase Sternberger, but you're too tight end. We like Alan Lazard and those type of players, but are they really legit number 2 options on this offense? Where Rodgers is just there to not turn the football over. His 2 best interception percentage rate were the last 2 years, which coincides with the low touchdown rate. They're just not asking him to do more.
They're not asking him to do it.
The defense has improved, and it just shows.
They're not asking him really to do it in the red zone, I think is the biggest thing. It's not like his attempts are way down or anything like that. They're just not asking him to do it in the red zone. And you're right. They need a second receiving option to emerge because he hasn't had one for the last few seasons, and it's shown.
Yeah, and what do they expect the addition of Devin Funchess to be this?
God, they have Devin Funchess.
Like this end all be all here for the Packers. Like it's just here's the to answer the question. Aaron Rodgers is an elite fantasy quarterback. That has not changed. Unfortunately, the team around him has changed, and on the team that he is on this year, he is not an elite fantasy quarterback. But given and I think the same thing happened with Tom Brady when we saw him switch to more of a game manager. They stopped giving him weapons. They stopped giving him Randy Mosses, and they stopped giving him Wes Welkers, and they stopped giving him these kind of players. And same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Once Jordy Nelson left, once Randall Cobb left, they just have Devontae Adams is the second best wide receiver in the NFL right now, and that's not due to just a shit ton of volume. Even though the volume will be nice for him, it's because the quarterback is so elite throwing him the ball and will make sure he gets good passes, catchable balls often. But the thing for Aaron Rodgers, even though, 2 years ago and that last year he had pretty bad touchdown comeback, he had the injury going on in 2018, the first and only year he ever went under 500 as a starter in the NFL. I'm not going to put too much on that. What I'm putting the stock on is that then they went out in the draft this year and drafted Jordan Love, a backup fullback, a backup tight end, a backup running back. You know, A.J. Dillon's going to do nothing but steal goal line carries away from what Rodgers could throw. That's what his role is going to be, is that goal line back. So I think Aaron Rodgers is good enough to be a top 3, top 4 quarterback. I don't think he is on this Green Bay team or with the coaching staff that's in Green Bay. And then the last thing about Aaron Rodgers is not even just Aaron Rodgers, but the NFL in general, fantasy in general, fantasy quarterbacks, man, you need to have a running quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is becoming less and less of a scare tactic to run. You know what I mean? Like he would always, not always, but he would add you some rushing yards. Maybe not so much Kyler Murray-esque, but that's where the fantasy is going these days. And with Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and these quarterbacks slowly declining into more of a pocket quarterback, they're just never going to be elite in the NFL or in NFL fantasy purposes.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is. So I want to capitalize on that because I'm fact check Hopper tonight. So attempts aren't down, efficiency's down, but I think that part of what's hurting Aaron Rodgers is exactly what you just said. It's the new breed of quarterback that is surpassing kind of the pocket passer, and to be an elite fantasy option these days, you do have to have the ability to pick up yards on the ground. That's why people are all over Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes has that. Josh Allen, Mahomes has that same type of ability to get out and scramble to go along with the huge arm. Russell Wilson's kind of always been that. You look at those quarterbacks that are now that top echelon, and it's not your Brees, your Brady's, your Rodgers, your pocket passers anymore. It's guys that can get out and get mobile and scramble and pick up yardage that way, that are going to be more in the 300 to 500 yard minimum range on the ground to be that type of quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is not going to be that. He's never been that. And I think that the game from a mobility standpoint, well, I can't say he's never been that. He was that for 2 years. But the game from a mobility standpoint and just what an elite fantasy quarterback is, I think has passed him up a little bit. I think it's a great call out.
And I also want to just mention, too, on the fact that the quarterback position has been pushed towards the mobile quarterback. What I've been suggesting on many of my podcasts is we need to get a league where quarterback rushing yards are capped or not capped, but like a half a point. So if you were doing a point every 10 yards rushing, it would be a point every 20 yards rushing for a quarterback, to almost alleviate the fact that like any quarterback, whether you throw 12 touchdowns or not, if you can go out there and run for 100 yards a game, then you're still the best quarterback in the NFL in fantasy purposes. So if you can eliminate that, you get more of, like, you can allow the pocket quarterbacks to have more say in the NFL, in fantasy. And we're already trying to do things to implement more quarterbacks, super flex leagues, stuff like this. It's just another way to make it so you just don't want, overdrafting for Lamar Jackson or anything like this. I don't know, just a couple ideas. I've been pushing it out in my podcast.
Yeah, like you look at what like Scott Fish did for his scoring this year and really giving a nod to efficiency, where you can see guys like Brees and Rodgers get a bump in scoring, or offenses that want to, utilize a more of a, see it before you throw it, I won't say play it safe, but schemes that allow for higher completion percentage, guys who don't want to push it downfield, more so much a West Coast South offense where it makes sense to do that. Like, it makes sense to kind of let your elite quarterbacks, prove that they're elite, and let the gap between the good and the bad, or the good and the average, be that much more spaced out. So it makes more sense to draft quarterbacks where, you feel like they need to be drafted. It rewards quarterbacks that are, better fit, for efficiency, on top of the ones that are getting all their production done on the ground, or at least have the upside of that week winning upside, where like a random Daniel Jones can be a QB1 because he had one busted run and 2 touchdowns.
And that's why I love what Scott Fish is doing. That's why I love to see on Twitter fantasy owners always just tweaking things, trying to find something new and fun. Fantasy football is a tree, man. If it's not growing, it's dying. And everyone needs to always be trying to figure out a new way to improve fantasy football because there always is a new way. So I always love to hear stuff like that.
Agreed. All right. For the running game, we talked a lot about running. We talked about how Aaron Jones and his touchdown prowess is kind of taken away from Aaron Rodgers. So, is there regression coming for Aaron Jones? And I think that, I think yes, there is. I think that you add AJ Dillon, who's a person of this regime and is the same type of runner, you're gonna get some regression from Aaron Jones, especially in those goal line scenarios and between the tackle scenarios. But 16 touchdowns in general is just a hard thing to repeat.
Especially when you add in and a big bruiser back and AJ Dillon, where you just know that his role early on at least is going to be short yardage and potentially goal line, and that role should only increase as the season goes on. I mean, maybe they'll. We saw how good of a receiver Jones can be when Adams went down for those couple of weeks. Maybe Jones becomes the second receiving option, and we just see a lot more, multi-running back sets to help offset that. That's just more wishful thinking.
The bizarro Ty Montgomery.
Yeah, right. The more athletic Ty Montgomery.
Aaron Jones, regression. Yeah, 16 touchdowns. You tell me one player to go out there and go get rushed for 16 touchdowns 2 times in a row, and I'll tell you every one of them Aaron Jones is not comparable to him. Aaron Jones is going to regress. It was just a hell of a year. I hope if in Dynasty you got rid of him when you could. Right now, he's just being overdrafted. Give me him in the 3rd round, sure. I love it all day. I'll have no problem with it. The way that Green Bay wants to run their offense, I agree. I think it's going to run in. But we see that he loved Jamal Williams. They went and drafted AJ Dillon. Like, I don't really know what this team's going to be, in all honesty, and I don't think it's going to be the Green Bay that we're used to. So I just don't know if I want Aaron Jones at this RBBC at the draft spot he's going right now. I mean, I'm not trying to say Aaron Jones is going to be like 2 touchdowns or anything like that. He's going to regress from 16, but he's being drafted too high.
Sure. Dan, give us some either or, because I saw that you had the ADP and the question mark there. So let's do some either ors on Aaron Jones.
Yeah, let's pull it up here. Nothing's changed since yesterday. So right now he's still RB9 at 201. Generally, when I do either or is I'll go 2 or 3 spots above in the head where he's going. I won't just bring up running backs. We'll do all positions.
Yeah.
So as of right now, we'll start with the guy. We'll start with Josh Jacobs, 109 as the RB8.
Jacobs.
Yeah, I'd go Jacobs. I think he has a lot more insulated value.
Okay. DeAndre Hopkins or Aaron Jones?
Probably Aaron Jones, unless it all depends on who I drafted first. But probably for gun to my head, I'd probably say Aaron Jones over Nuke.
Hopkins is a 1st round pick right now. So I mean,
I don't love Nuke right now. I don't love him.
We're the same way. We don't see.
We don't either.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's great. I think he'll be good with Kyler and shit. But the fact of the matter is, there's still 18 different wide receivers on Arizona that at one point I thought was going to be pretty damn good for fantasy. So I don't know what's going to go on there.
Well, and that's exactly it. A lot of mouths to feed there in Arizona. So I'd probably go Aaron Jones. Also just the running back. Typically going to have a little bit more value there. It's a positional thing.
Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones.
Mixon.
I'd probably go Mixon.
I'm very much pro Mixon.
Me too.
Obviously this year. Well, I guess we'll just stay with running backs then. Nick Chubb, tied at the same spot at the 201.
Nick Chubb.
Miles Sanders.
I'm a big Miles Sanders, boys. Big Miles Sanders.
Huge Miles Sanders.
They haven't added anybody yet. I got to go Sanders.
I guess we'll keep going until we like Jones then at this point. Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones.
I'll take Aaron Jones, even though I might be unpopular on that one.
I'd take Eckler.
Now, this one's the first split, I think, for me. I don't.
Eckler convinced me to take Eckler.
Good.
Yeah, his response to the counselor was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I think I go with Eckler too. I think it's really close. Leonard Fournette or Aaron Jones.
Fournette's that low?
Yeah, 212. He's actually tied with Austin Eckler at the 212.
Jesus.
I'd go Aaron Jones, and I'd probably go Aaron Jones over everyone who's left except for one name. And I don't know if he's coming up. I don't want to spoil anything, but I would go Aaron Jones over.
Well, let's stop. Who's the one name?
It'd be Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
We're both high on Drake.
We're both high on
Drake is. Drake's going at the 305.
Keep going.
Exactly.
I would be Fournette. I would actually be Fournette over Eckler.
Yeah, I'm also. I just took Fournette. I just had my 2 picks in Scott Fish. I took Fournette as my RB3. So
I love Fournette, especially in a PPR type esque league. Like he ate last year in PPR, and
Chris Thompson is not going to change that.
No, dude. Somehow in my last podcast, the question was, well, what if Chris Thompson stays healthy? And I was like, yeah, well, what if Jordan Reed stays healthy? Come to me when that happens. Like, there's no way Thompson plays this year.
What you got to say is, what if Chris Thompson doesn't make the team? Because it's not like he's guaranteed.
And that's what I said. Give me Raquel Armstead over Chris Thompson all day.
Well, and I still like Fournette to get more touches on the ground than Aaron Jones does, especially with AJ Dillon.
But it's also just, it is Gardner Minshew, and we loved him last year, but damn it, I don't know if he's ready to take an NFL team 16 games and move them up and down the field consistently, where I feel like Aaron Jones is at least going to be in scoring opportunities. And I also think we're spending a lot of time on the Packers, which is just gross in my opinion.
All right, let's move on.
How good can Devontae Adams be in 2020? He's I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. He's the wide receiver 2 because I don't know who else you can make the wide receiver 2 right now. Tyreek Hill is the only other person in conjunction there. They're probably a tier break behind Michael Thomas for me. And I don't feel great about it.
I'll go Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, 1A, 1B, 1C. Tyreek Hill is 4th.
That is my exact same order. I think Julio's the only one I think that I would. It's
question.
Yeah, which is funny because it's going to be just how bad is Atlanta's defense and how much they're going to throw. You can't go around. This is an argument where I have to take Adams or Jones. I just want both.
Yeah,
if I can.
Yeah.
And with how receivers are being pushed down, you can have a lot of fun.
If you're at a turn, you might be able to get both.
You can. It's so right
probably
now.
Probably not Adams, but you could get Hill and Julio.
Well, I guess it depends on the team.
I guess maybe. Yeah.
Especially in
Adams is the 108 right now, and Hopkins and Hill have higher ADPs over Julio.
Especially in Superflex, where you've got Jackson and Mahomes getting pushed into that first round. So
that too, yeah. I mean, you're looking at 4 quarterbacks in two QB leagues. You have 4 quarterbacks going in the first round, and you're pushing Adams. He gets pretty much pushed down to the 10. To the 10 spot.
As far as the secondary receiving options, you mentioned Sternberger. We talk about taking late picks on athletic tight ends and hoping one of them sticks. That's about the same thing for Sternberger. It's Green Bay. Don't hold your breath. But if it's like your last pick of your draft and you're looking for another dart throw, sure, why not? It's pretty much the same thing for me with Lazard and Kumaro. I actually had them both in a rebuilding dynasty league because I don't know if one or either sticks, but I don't want to guess wrong. So I'm just holding on to both of them.
I don't want anybody else from this team. Besides Sternberger, especially if there's some sort of premium scoring, or if I have to start 2. Yeah. Love him in Dynasty. I want them all in Dynasty. I don't want nobody else.
If you're deep, if you're deep drafting 14 rounds and want to take a dart throw on Lazard or Kumaro, be my guest. It's a churn spot, But I think more so they're guys we're going to talk about in waivers than we're going to talk about drafting.
There's going to be so much turnover this year, just due to COVID, with all the injury marks and shit like that. Guys who can't play for 2 weeks, dart throws don't even be a thing this year because you're going to be you're going to be flipping roster spots each and every week, potentially 3 to 5 guys. If something breaks out and the game still plays, it could be rough. It could be fucking rough, man. You'd be playing BC Johnson or some shit.
Speaking of BC Johnson,
I'm not sleeping on BC.
Let's go ahead and
I actually like BC.
Let's go ahead and move to the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, good streamer in quarterback 1, solid quarterback 2. Yeah, that's basically what you're going to get out of Cousins. It's It's a team that wants to run the football. Cousins is efficient, though. He doesn't kill you most weeks. I don't know if there's a lot
Kirk
else.
Cousins. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know if there's a lot else that needs to be said there.
Kirk Cousins and quarterback one do not need to be in the same sentence ever.
It starts
They
with...
just, I mean, Stephon Diggs there, sure, I can see what you're saying. Great, putting up stats for sure. But with the loss of Stephon Diggs and the addition of rookie wide receiver, who we just explained is going to be a tough position to come in and dominate in the NFL. As much as I love Justin Jefferson, I don't know. And then you got Irv Smith coming up. That's great. That's about it. BC Johnson. I'm not sold on Kirk Cousins being anywhere near quarterback one. I got him like quarterback 28 right now, 25.
See, I mean, sold on him being able to produce in the teens, and the only reason I'm sold on, and the biggest reason I'm sold on that is we've seen Kirk Cousins make something out of nothing with some of those rosters that he had in Washington, and it's not like losing Diggs leaves him with nothing. If the Cook holdout doesn't materialize, you've got a good receiving running back, you've got a tight end. You know, you've got a tight end that's flashed, you've got a tight end that has done it before, and you still have a wide receiver one there in Adam Thielen, who I think him and Allen Robinson are going to be really, really close this year. We'll get to Robinson later in kind of that teens range. But, you know, I think Kirk Cousins somewhere in that 15 to 18 range is probably more realistic, where he is a usable streamer most weeks in quarterback one and solidified as a quarterback two. And it's because, I mean, it's kind of the Carson Wentz thing, right? He's not Carson Wentz, but the personnel groupings are real freaking similar.
Yeah, I mean, 13 passing touchdowns on play actions led the league last year. Can't argue that. That's for sure.
I mean, this defense is gonna, like, I've talked about this on the show a bunch. I expect Minnesota's defense to be, I won't say bad, but it's definitely not going to be up to where they were the last few seasons. I expect them to have to throw the ball a bit more because of that. We've seen what Cousins can do. Like, as Hopper mentioned, we've seen what Cousins can do. Like, even with the mediocre receiving core, he didn't have Thielen, at least a healthy Thielen for most of last season, and he saw, Fong Wees to be very much a streamable option. The offense doesn't change when you move from Stefanski to Kubiak, because Kubiak pretty much helps Stefanski build that offense. Well, let's just still run first. Cook, not a pitcher perfect of health. If he goes down, the offense has to change. You're not going to ride Madison and Mike Boone the same way you can ride Dalvin Cook or have that same trust. So there is some upside to him. That's why he's a good second QB in super flex leagues, and I think he's going to be in a above average streaming option on any decent week.
I just think that what you guys are leaning on right now, and we'll get to him probably. We might be able to transition to him here. Is a 32-year-old injury prone receiver now. We can officially say he's injury prone after an injury last year.
That's fair.
I mean, it's just like, yes, all things considered, like Adam Thielen should be a top 10 wide receiver this year. And that'll help Kirk Cousins immensely, especially like what you said, the defense not being up to Minnesota average as we've come to expect over the last few years. Yeah. And then Dalvin Cook being on that whole, I don't know what's going on, but I've said on my podcast that I don't think he should resign this year. Should not play this year with the Corona season amidst. So if all that goes, you could see Kirk Cousins throwing a shit ton. I'm just not sold that Adam Thielen's healthy all year. I truly am not, and that's why I think he's kind of being overdrafted. And I still have him ranked inside my top 10, but I'm avoiding him in almost every draft right now. I'm nervous. I'm sorry, but age is scary.
There's nothing around to be nervous there. I mean, I guess we can just transition to the receivers.
Yeah,
this point.
You had Alex Madison, and I think that's worth at least talking about in Mike Boone on the chance that Cook doesn't sign. And if Cook is not signed and still holding out, which we've talked about that being tough to do this year, Alex Madison's going to be the guy. So how high do you go with Alex Madison? Because right now he's kind of a value to hold on to in the 9th round at the running back 40, I think. So,
this is very, very similar to Austin Eckler last year, wasn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah.
No one wanted to draft Austin Eckler too high last year because Melvin Gordon might resign. He might sign. And then Eckler ended up being just fucking phenomenal. Alex Madison is just as good, if not better. He is better than Austin Eckler at the running back position. So I would gladly take Alex Madison. I mean, knowing Dalvin Cook doesn't play all year, I'd gladly take him in the first round, probably.
Oh God!
But without knowing that, I will still take him early. I have no problem getting him in the 9th round, 8th round. Probably wouldn't go higher than like that. But I would get him. You don't like him?
I've never been a big Madison fan. I think he's just
he's a Mike Boone truther, and it's disgusting.
I'd love me some Mike Boone, but it's the same.
That is Mike from truther. It's that Madison. I think if Cook goes down, you're assuming that Madison. It takes the type of workload that Austin Eckler had. Except Madison isn't anywhere near as good as good of a pass catcher as Austin Eckler is, and that's where all your fantasy.
But he's also in a different offense that wants to run the football a ton.
Mike Boone can also do those same exact things. So, I'm not saying that Madison won't be productive. I'm saying that Madison won't see the same type of opportunity, the opportunity share or touch share as Cook did. So I think Boone will also factor in. And I also think they'll end up throwing the football more if that ends up being the case. I think it goes to where it was when Cook got injured in his rookie season, where it's Latavius Murray and Jordan McKinnon. And then you're kind of playing this every other week thing, especially if they both pop and they both deserve playing time. I'm not saying that Madison is bad. I just don't think he's that great. But I think he's great for the system that we have because it fits well for his running style. It's a one-read, concept, run through the hole, and that's it. And he looked good doing that last year. I just think that Mike Boone can offer that plus more. At least Mike Boone has a better, pass catching profile to him.
What's Mike Boone's age? Isn't he 27?
Yeah, I don't know. I want to combat the Austin Eckler point though, real quick. With Dalvin Cook healthy most of the season, Madison saw 100 carries. Eckler saw 137 or 132. Sorry, so relatively equal sample size. Madison was more efficient.
I'm not saying that Madison
not
is
as
a better
efficient in the passing game,
better runner,
but he's a better runner. He's better on the ground. I think he easily outperforms running back 40. And not to say
Cook
that
is the whole time he will not be running back 40. Like this will definitely change.
Yeah,
his ADP will rise through the roof. I'm not taking him in the first round. I wouldn't take him in the first 3 rounds.
No, I wouldn't take him in the first 3 rounds either. But if Cook's holding out and you're telling me round 6, 7, 8, he's there.
That's a lot different than round 1.
Yeah, then I'm going for that. You're not going to draft him round 1. No, that would be stupid.
I think you guys have smoked a little too much weed before this show. To be honest, Alex Madison with no Dalvin Cook in Minnesota's offense with no wide receivers on the sides of Kirk Cousins, all they will do is run the ball. And that is the only way Mike Boone will even see the field. Mike Boone's timeshare compared to Madison's would be 80-20 guaranteed. Boone would not be out there that
long. Man, no.
100%. And Madison would take the reins and fly behind, like in that Minnesota scheme, in that offense, and what Zimmer is trying to do there. I think like this would be all in all the perfect season to get Alex Madison, because again, I don't think Dalvin Cook plays. I think this is the year that you don't end up playing because you don't need to risk coming to play with the COVID season. You can sit out this season, or at least, the 8 games. I think it's one of those contracts where you got to be back by game 8 or 9 or whatever it is. But still, sit out as long as you can to lessen the risk of getting COVID. We've seen NBA players saying they're not playing in this playoffs. We've seen MLB players say we're not playing. NHL players, we're not playing. It's a matter of time before NFL players are going to say that same thing. And the NFL players that don't play are going to be the ones that are holding out in general.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if
the difference is that the NBA and the MLB and the Players Association agreed to provisions that allowed them to opt out and still maintain some form of pay and toll service
time. But
time.
Dalvin Cook can still opt out for 8 games or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Whatever the max is. No, you don't lose a year in free agency.
Well, he has to report. He has to report by
the CBA.
The 5th day. I think it's the 4th or 5th day when mandatory training camp starts. Then they start to accrue a 40,000 fine or like some or like 400,000 fine. Like I think he'll report,
Yeah, they
and
changed.
then I'll think and then he'll sit out. Like I don't think he'll sit out. I think they'll work.
I don't either.
I think they'll figure out I think he'll get extended. I don't want him
I just
to.
think you won't sit there and bleed money.
What's that?
I just think you won't sit there and bleed money after 5 days because it's not his contract that governs how long he can hold out. It's a CBA, and they changed that. He can't hold out 8 games.
So he can't hold out 8 games, is what you're saying?
No, he cannot.
What's the longest?
I mean, he could try to, but then he won't accrue. Like, he has to show up in time to accrue a 1 year, which means he has to show up by the 5th day after mandatory training camp starts.
Otherwise, he doesn't accrue service time. He's still under contract.
Yes. And then he has to go through this all over again. There's just no way that he's going to risk him. Like, he's going to get paid. If not by the Vikings or by somebody else.
I don't think he's going to end up staying with the Vikings. I also don't know of an NFL team outside of the Cowboys that will overspend on a running back anymore. I don't think there is an NFL team. I think 31 other teams will pass on their running back every time, and then we'll see what Dalvin Cook gets to do in the free agent market, and he's going to come up short. And that's what's
it'll be like Melvin Gordon, where like he ends up taking less than what he wants,
overplaying his hand, and maybe that's a cautionary tale for him.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell was very close to doing the same thing until the Jets pulled the trigger.
Yeah,
Nick, I don't want to envision a world where there's no Dalvin Cook. I just don't want to see the Madison versus Boone. I don't even care who's versus. I just don't. I'm just not in love with Madison. But I do like if you take Cook, you should try to get Madison as best as you can to help, handcuff that situation, especially if you have, deep benches. And especially if these formats can figure out a way to help with the IR situations with COVID just by increasing IR slots or whatever. I'm not saying you don't draft Madison. I'm saying you don't need to reach on Madison because we don't know. We had we didn't even have a sample size of what the offense could look like without Cook and with a healthy Mike Boone and Madison because Madison wasn't healthy the 2 weeks that Cook didn't play.
Yeah, he played 13 games, and like I said, still 100 touches, still saw Eckler-esque work, at least in the running game. But, yeah, we
have to admit, Madison looked explosive when he touched the ball. I don't know why you guys are underselling him right now. Like, this guy, damn near...
Because you don't spend a first-round pick for somebody you're not even going to get half a season out of.
Compared to Eckler, I want a running back that I know is going to get the pass catching work and get a lot of it.
Yeah, in PPR leagues for sure. Like in fantasy, yeah. I mean,
that's the only thing that we're talking about.
I'd rather have Eckler than Madison. But if if Cook was gone, Cook was just not on the team, and it was Madison and Boone, I would have Madison over Eckler.
Oh man,
I don't know that I would.
I like the take though. Like you backed it up. I like where you're going with it. I'm not that bullish. I've never been that bullish on Madison though. And
yeah,
I've talked about it a shit ton.
I'm a hot take connoisseur. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. I black out and make a hot take. And I'm like, what did I say?
It's the White Claw speaking.
The White Claw.
It's the White Claw
takes. It's a White Claw take.
All right.
I was doing a podcast and they were like, all right, Nick, don't forget you got to bet that Emmanuel Sanders is going to outscore Devontae Parker in PPR this year. And I was like, oh, shit, I do? Let's go Emmanuel Sanders, baby. All right.
Adam Thielen, wide receiver 10 at the 301, drafting him at his ceiling or his floor. And I've got to say you're drafting him at his ceiling if you're drafting him as a wide receiver 10. I don't think top 5 is anything he's going to sniff. I don't see that being in the realm of possibilities. I think 10 is about where the ceiling is. And I think the floor could be injured and outside of the top 36 is your floor. If he plays a full 16, your floor's probably in the 18 to 20 range, with your top being the 10 for me.
I agree. It's way too rich. Like Thielen as my wide receiver, like 2 or 3, I'd be okay with because it kind of helps protect against the injury risk. Because it's hard to call him a bust. Like if he sucks, it's because he gets hurt. Because we've seen him be just an insane producer when he's healthy. I mean, obviously that hasn't been the case for the last 2 years, but at least we've seen it. And now that he's back to being the one, tends too high. 301 is definitely too high. There's no way that I'm taking him on the turn. Over guys like Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, AJ Brown, Cortland Sutton, all guys going behind Thielen right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I can't draft him that high.
No, he needs to slip, and it needs to be like there's no fucking way I'm taking him as my wide receiver 1. None. And I tend to draft, robust RB. I'm going to heavy RB most times than not, and I'm not trusting Thielen to be my 1. There's just too much risk in that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he has potential to be top 10. Honestly, I would probably take him over a lot of the guys you just named. But that's why I'm gonna have. That's why I'm gonna have 4 or 5 running backs on my team before I even have
exactly
exactly.
So. Just protect yourself from that. I guess I'm the same way. Like I want Thielen to be a massive boom just because I'm a Vikings fan and because I like the guy. But I don't want to end up taking that risk if I'm going to take if I have to draft him that high. I just don't want to take that chance.
Great. Nothing else to talk about here. I'm not interested in Justin Jefferson. Rudolph and Irv Smith, they're at least mildly interesting. Again, late round tight ends. This is why you do it. Probably Smith a little bit over Rudolph just because of the way we saw things trend last year. But I do think that's where the target share goes in year 1 of no Stephon Diggs, and especially if there's a Dalvin Cook holdout. I think that your target share is going to go towards the tight end here. Both guys have upside.
There's going to be a lot of I think there's going to be a lot of 2 tight end sets to start the year as Justin Jefferson gets more acclimated within the offense. And, you still have BC Johnson who got hurt late last year, Chad Beebe, guys like that who I don't expect to be fantasy relevant, but it could change the way you call formations and plays. Like you just mentioned, Irv Smith came on late last year. Rudolph, I think, is a decent value in tight end premiums or just super deep, 2 tight end leagues. Because I think there's going to be volume there, especially early on, for both players, especially Irv Smith in the red zone or
Rudolph
outside the 20s, him up the seams, Smith up the seams outside the 20s all day. Rudolph's a beast in the red zone, and still is.
Yep, I can't really say much more. I don't want either of them. They're going to give me gray hair, either one. I'm going to be starting the wrong one every single week. Don't draft them unless you're in really deep leagues. Irv Smith over Kyle Rudolph easily. At least he has potential to get you some yards. If you're going to try to go touchdown vulture and good luck. I don't know. Him, Kyle Rudolph, Darren Fells. I don't fucking know.
I'm not getting both because I don't want to try to figure out which one. I'm taking, take one or the other.
No.
That's like picking between Madison and Mike Boone.
No, that decision's actually easy.
Very.
I was just poking. I would just give a little poke.
Beer review.
Mike Boone outperforming Madison would be like Kanye winning the presidency. All right.
Don't say that because 4 years ago.
I know.
I'm sorry. We shouldn't do politics. Here.
We don't.
We
try not to. Yeah, we try to stay on football, even though our Twitters get political on occasion. All right, cool. Football, White Claw. I want to hear your review. I want you to kick us out. Review that White Claw. Give us the hot take.
Ooh, I'm walking into the unknown too as I'm doing this. White Claw, going down smooth. You know what it is? And here's the best thing about it. I feel like I could go run a couple miles right now. Right? No, I'm not weighted down. I'm not over, carbonated in my stomach. Great White Claw. And it's perfect. I guess that's all I can really say.
All right, Dan.
Sorry, doing two things at once.
Oh, you're good. I drink Surely Furious again. It's a malt forward IPA, decently hot finish to it. It's been a staple of my drinking for 10 plus years now. Whatever long Surly's been around for. It's just a solid go-to. It's not, super crushable, being that it can get pretty hot bitter towards the end, and the malt it's hard to crush malt heavy beers anyways, because it tends to get a bit filling. So It's a good solid beer. That's really what it is.
All right, I was drinking Old Forester Statesman. Again, this is slightly inspired by the Kingsman's 95 proof bourbon from Old Forester. Pretty much available everywhere. Starts out really, really sweet. Almost like a caramel apple when it starts. The fruit note kind of faded off of it this tasting, but when I first opened it, there's definitely a heavy fruit note there. Very viscous, really coats the inside of your mouth. It's definitely sugary and a sweet bourbon, but it gets a nice balance as it rolls into a little bit of rice spice in the middle. Got a little bit of a kick to it. The warm on the way down. I wouldn't call it hot. Very easy, straight sipper. So overall, it's very pleasant with a lot of balance. I think it runs about $50 a bottle. So it's definitely worth the price tag. It doesn't necessarily stand up to like 1910 from Old Forester, but I'd probably take it over the 1920 in my personal opinion of liking sweeter bourbons. So, yeah, there you go. Very, very nice balance. Definitely something I would show to somebody that wants to get into bourbon.
I hear it's pretty good if you mix it with a few ice cubes of White.
A few ice cubes of White Claw. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, first,
Yeah.
Anybody got dry ice so I can actually freeze White Claw?
It can freeze, I promise
you. I'm not surprised by that. All right, let's move on to the Bears because we have to. Who starts week 1? I'm the Bears fan. I will sit back and go last on this one. So whichever one of you guys wants to keep this off. Just Foles or Trubisky start week 1, and who's better for the playmakers in the offense? I think it's the same answer for both questions.
Dan, go ahead, bud.
I want Foles for both.
What was the second question? Who started week 1 and what?
Who's better for the playmakers?
Playmakers in the offense.
Gotcha. Trubisky starts week 1. Foles is the better quarterback.
See, I've got Trubisky for both. I think that we know what Nick Foles is, and he's not produced anywhere outside of Philly. That's just the truth of the matter. He came into Jacksonville and lost his job to Gardner Minshew, a 6th-round quarterback that was talented and showed he could get it done, but, isn't necessarily setting the world on fire. I think Foles was brought in to motivate Trubisky, and I think Trubisky has been absolutely motivated throughout the offseason. I think he was playing timid. And I think he was playing, the shoulder injury. So, you bring Trubisky in off-season to heal, sure, but I think more so just motivated with that fire that was lit under him. He's a more athletic quarterback. I think he's got more raw skill than what Nick Foles does. I think he starts week 1, and I think the motivation allows him to hold on to that, and I definitely think he's better for the playmakers.
Yeah, they both are really bad. So
they are. I don't want that to be an endorsement on Trubisky coming out and lighting the world on fire. I just think he is the better of the two options. I think with Nick Foles, you're handcuffing things and really at that point just trying to get somebody in to manage a game and relying on your defense. And maybe that's what the Bears need to be competitive, but that's not what you need for fantasy.
God, that's true. I wonder how many times they flip-flopped starting QB. That's what I want to know.
I don't know,
if Trubisky starts and he struggles a lot until we see Foles. I don't like it. I love Allen Robinson, and that's about it. I mean, I guess I like David Montgomery this year because he's going to a decent value, but used to be decent. He's going in the 4th round now, a little high, but
410 barely.
Yeah,
I still would take
23. It just speaks to how high.
Can we do an either or on Montgomery?
Yeah. Pull it up right quick. I guess you want to just do running backs or all positions?
Let's do running backs.
Okay. All right.
You swayed me.
So we'll start Mark Ingram at the 406. So Montgomery moved down to the 411. He's still RB23, so nothing's really changed.
I'm taking Ingram over Montgomery.
Okay. Nick.
I'm pretty bullish on Montgomery this year, especially when his ADP was in the 5th round. I was glad to take him every draft. I would I'm gonna go Montgomery. I think there's a lot of mouths to feed in the backfield of Baltimore, and I'm nervous that Mark Ingram is only going to be used in the goal line senses and kept a little bit more on the benches than he was last year for the postseason. I think we're going to see more Justice Hill. We obviously saw them go out and draft J.K. Dobbins. I mean, Gus Edwards is still there, though I don't think he makes the team. Lamar Jackson is the thing. I don't know. There's a bunch. I'm going to go with David Montgomery.
Yeah, I would take Montgomery. I think that as soon as Dobbins just shows that he's just much better for the offense as a whole, I think you'll end up taking that job. I still like Ingram early on in the season as they work him, as they work Dobbins in. And I just think he'll end up being replaced sooner than later. I mean, I guess we shouldn't really think about that in the sense where, why draft a guy with what he might not be in week 7 or 8. But
I think that's a good way to draft.
Yeah.
I also just want to say
it depends on what running back you is on your team. Like if you use your RB2 or your RB1 or 2, there might be a little too much risk with RB3 than who the fuck is.
That's true. And every time I do a podcast, I mention Mark Ingram. He's always and will be the NFL player I want to have a beer with. So if he's randomly listening, please reach out. Let's grab a beer.
Yes. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 410. CEH or David Montgomery?
CEH.
CEH.
Mm-hmm. David Johnson, 1 spot ahead.
That's tougher.
David Johnson.
Yeah, I think Johnson's got more upside, but man, could the bottom fall out of that. That one's really close for me.
I take David.
I'd probably
I think
they're both
David.
I picked David. No, DJ. Give me a similar floor, higher upside.
Yeah,
David Johnson.
Okay. Keep going.
And then there's a massive gap after Montgomery or I would say massive, but there's a one round gap between Montgomery and Marlon Mack. I don't know why Marlon Mack's at 5'10". It seems too high.
Yeah, it does.
I'd go Montgomery.
Yeah, it's Montgomery. This one makes no sense then. Todd Gurley.
What?
Yeah, 6-1 right now.
He's going late.
Gurley?
Yeah. Give me Gurley. I'll take Gurley in the 4th round.
I would too.
Yeah.
Tariq Cohen at the 11:01 is the running back 47. Who is around him?
I
just have a sneaking suspicion he might be the best.
Run him with ADP. So he's going in the 10th round. All running backs going in the 10th round. Latavius Murray, Tony Pollard, J.K. Dobbins, and then Rashad Penny's at the 11:02.
Jesus, what a mess that is. So I probably would go Dobbins and Penny over Tariq Cohen. But the thing with the Bears' backfield is it's Montgomery, Cohen, and then nobody else.
Yeah,
nobody. That's why I like Montgomery.
He's got insulated value to him,
especially in half and full PPR. If he can get any form of efficiency back out of the offensive line, I mean, his efficiency fell into the tank last year. That offense just hit a roadblock. If that offense finds a little bit of a stride again, he had 104 targets. If he even
yeah.
If he even balances out, I mean, he's a 600-yard receiver. If he even balances out to the average of the first 2 seasons or his career average, if he comes up to his career average from where he was at last year, he is a 650-yard receiver in PPR in the 11th round. I'll take that. It's, that's damn near James White-like.
God, it's hard for reception. You just wish. You wish. Like, how hard is it to use Tariq Cohen? Like, he is your modern-day Darren Sproles. Just put him in fucking space and let him work.
Yeah. He actually...
Like he had 39 catches for less than 500 fucking yards. That is a travesty.
More targets. He had 10 more targets than James White did.
Yeah, it's like... It's a fucking embarrassment to Tariq Cohen. We love Cohen here. I mean, we've loved him since our first year of watching film or of doing rookie content. In the 17 class, like the man deserves a better offense in terms of his usage.
And they got Matt Nagy. Like he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
The dude,
Nagy's first year, he had 10.2 yards per granted the Bears were a far better team then, but it's not like the defense got much worse. It's just like what changed? Like what was the drop off that dropped off? What took into the drop off to go from that to go from 10-2 from an insane yards per touch at 6.9 to under 5?
My
It
theory
was
is
Mitchell Trubisky.
I don't think it was. So watching the Bears every week, and Dan heard this take a couple times last year also. I think the play calling handcuffed them more than Mitchell Trubisky did, because I think they tried to put the training wheels on Mitchell Trubisky too hard. And they were trying to do too much bubble screen bullshit, basically, that were getting snuffed out. That's why Cohen's yards per reception was way down. They get behind in games. Trubisky would have to come out in the late third quarter, fourth quarter, and actually start throwing the ball downfield. And they're able to move the ball in those scenarios. And maybe it's because the defense was playing softer, but they were able to move the ball, and they actually turned him loose and started calling downfield plays and started calling intermediate routes and letting him throw it around a little bit. And in watching the team, it's easy to say Trubisky and blame it on the quarterback, but in watching the team every week, it almost to me looked like they were trying to put training wheels on him too hard with the play calling because they didn't trust him. And I think that hurt the offense more than his actual play did.
I think you could say it. I mean, this is all speculation at this point, but it's all tied in. The plays that were called to help Trubisky. I mean, as much as the bubble screens were called and all these screens were called and these were getting snuffed out, they allowed Trubisky to try to open up the ball, to try to open up the field and allow for holes to be created for their backs. And he missed on almost every single one of them. 9 out of 10 times, he would overthrow or underthrow whoever he had to open up the field, to open up the defense. Once they realized he couldn't do that, they would just snuff out those screens, as you were saying, and that's almost all they could call. It seems. And again, this is all speculation. Who the hell knows? We're going to sit here and argue just what our own thoughts are, and there's no change in either of them. But just to get my thought out there,
sure.
It comes down to that point, and that point alone is, yes, the play calling was terrible, and it didn't do any justice for the Bears in general. But I think a lot of that was due to Mitchell Trubisky's lack of being able to throw the football like a competent NFL quarterback. And so that ends up pushing the defense to push in a lot more. And in third, fourth quarter, he was able to open it up. We looked a lot better. He was throwing the ball. And it's 100% because those defenses were softened up.
He was league average.
They made in-game adjustments, maybe. And that's play call.
He was league average in deep ball.
Woo-hoo.
Not great. But league average is, it's average.
Better than Josh Allen.
That's the takeaway.
Oh, God, Josh Allen.
Yeah. League average is, by definition, average. And, yeah, so, I just... I don't disagree that it's all tight end. I do not disagree that it is all tight end. And, tight end, too. That didn't help him very much either. But, I think they outcoached themselves in a way, trying to make it easier for him, and I think that's also going to stunt his development.
I agree with you. Anyways, let's move on to something at least that brings a little more excitement to
Allen Robertson.
Allen Robertson.
Allen Robertson.
Allen Robertson. Allen Robertson. Yeah.
It's a very
We're going to keep butchering the name words to words.
It's this very similar situation to Adam Thielen, like you have down here. He's being drafted as a wide receiver 12 at the 310. The difference is I can stomach that a little bit easier than I can Thielen, given it wasn't always pretty, but the overall picture of what you got out of Allen Robinson last year was not bad. 150 plus targets, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's a respectable season. Do I think it touches wide receiver 12? Those numbers probably puts him in the high teens more so than wide receiver 12, but you're at least within range there, and I think that the floor is higher than it is for Thielen.
Yeah, I just want Allen Robinson more. Like, I just feel he doesn't have, like, he's been 3 years removed from the ACL injury. He's been banged up a little bit, but he tends to muster through. And we've seen him be peppered with targets with little target competition. Even I like Anthony Miller, but the dude can't stay healthy either. And if Trubisky does start some plays, there is that chemistry that's been built in, and I think I feel a lot safer. I feel a lot better if I had Robinson or over a guy like Thielen.
I would too.
Is-
The upside's just
is-
more.
Is there a wide receiver? I feel like poor guy.
You feel terrible. Blake
Bortles. Come on, like give this dude someone, not Nick Foles. That is not the answer.
Hey, Blake Bortles was better for him than Mitch Trubisky was.
I just want garbage time. Like, why can't the Bears defense be bad so we can get garbage time Robinson again?
Yep. I like Robinson a lot. This is supposed to be a good year. I think we're drafting him at his ceiling, though. We drafted too high for this guy.
I agree completely. As far as Anthony Miller goes, you don't bet on the breakout. You don't fall into that trap. You can pick him up on waivers if it comes down to it. 52nd wide receiver going. And no, you should not ever care about Jimmy Graham.
There's been a lot of buzz on Miller. That's why I threw it in there. Like, I absolutely love Anthony Miller, but again,
I love Anthony Miller too, but I need to see the offense take some strides.
It's yeah. I'm not super thrilled with it.
Yeah. All right.
One receiver. Let's move on to the team that
onto the line.
And hopefully bring joy.
Woo! Matt Stafford, most disrespected quarterback right now.
God, I just want him in every league. I just missed them in Scott Fish.
He's just so cheap. And there's no reason for it. He was hurt last year. Yeah, David Blows or whatever. And they're slinging footballs.
Pretty much.
I mean,
the guy was on pace for 5,000 yards.
Yeah.
40 touchdowns.
That defense is going to be worse.
Oh,
my God.
Passing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Offensive line is going to be worse, though. Matthew Stafford has had 2 straight years of back injuries. That is not an injury that just goes away. This is not just this isn't anything. This is a back injury. This is as bad as a neck injury. And it's been 2 years in a row. Everyone here, it's like, yeah, Matthew Stafford, he's great for sure. But I mean, I must be the only person in Detroit who's worried about a back injury that's shown itself 2 years in a row. But apparently, I'm the only person in the world who even thinks about that, because Matthew Stafford is like I don't know. There's so many. Oh, boys, what are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about fantasy. Let me not get into a big old discussion about Matthew Stafford. Fantasy football wise, he should be pretty good. He's being criminally underdrafted.
Yeah, criminally under. He was on pace for nearly 5,000 yards last year. 40 touchdowns, 10 picks. I mean, even if you don't get 16 games out of him, especially in single QB, you take what that week-to-week production is and you run it out there when you can, and you're happy you have it.
Yep. Offense should only be better this year with the addition of Swift.
Agreed.
Right. And isn't the offense didn't you guys lose, some key pieces of the O-line last year, though, too? That should be coming back this year?
We lose O-line pieces every single year, and then we draft the worst O-line pieces to make up for it every year. Yeah, I mean, our offensive line is going to be pretty tough this year. The big addition, Big V, 40 million, 5 years, something like that, I believe. He is barely a starter in the NFL, in my opinion. He wasn't a starter in Philadelphia. He made a couple very bad plays in the Super Bowl. Made a couple good plays that got him more name recognition, but they don't remember the bad plays. They're just sitting here remembering the good ones for him. I don't like him. I think we also lost Graham Glasgow. We lost Rick Wagner, which is where Big V is supposed to play on the right tackle side. But that left guard position now is very we're bringing in these backups last year that showed extreme flaws, and we are just expecting them to do great. The good thing about that is because of this year and because the lack of practice teams will have, even though they are backups, they will have more chemistry than a lot of other NFL teams, which is always good. Even if you're getting this big star, offensive lineman, it still takes chemistry to know what the guy right to your right or right to the left is going to do. And I think that does help us. We are also going to be leaning more into the rushing game, but we do say that every year. So it's like we're going to be leaning more into the rushing game.
But you have good backs this year, and one of them's likely to be healthy.
Say that again?
I said you have good backs this year, and one of them, at least one of them at any given point in time, is likely to be healthy.
Hopefully, we say that, but then Bo Scarborough is starting weeks 15 and 16.
Hey, Scarborough didn't do bad.
He didn't do bad. No, he didn't.
Ty Johnson.
What a
Ty
waste.
Johnson, good lord.
Yes.
Yeah, you worry about Stafford in the offensive line because of the risk of re-injury, but you've also seen Stafford play behind some real ragtag offensive lines before and do pretty good. So, you take
should have probably drafted Tua though. That's a different conversation, but probably should have drafted him.
All right. As far as the running backs go, DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson. So Johnson 6'7", running back 27. Swift 8'12", running back 37. I would probably flip-flop those, but other than that, I'm pretty okay with those ADP.
God, Kerryon Johnson being drafted way too high if he's 27.
Yeah.
I thought they were swapped, and I was going to say Kerryon's a great value at running back 37. He's being just pushed aside. But really, I guess if his ADP is going to have him at 27th running back, don't draft him, in my opinion, and go after Swift because it's just a matter of time before Swift shows how good he's going to be, and he's going to be that PPR guy. So in regards to a PPR fantasy-esque league, you're going to want DeAndre Swift on your team and not Kerryon Johnson.
You want Swift in every single if Swift goes that late, you have to find a way to get him in every league. That is insane value for him.
And they don't have to change the offense because these are guys with very similar skill sets. The only difference is that Swift is more explosive and doesn't have the long lineage of injuries.
Well, that sounds great to me. But he is a Lion now, so injuries are inevitable.
Don't say that.
Wide receivers. Kenny Golladay, wide receiver 8 at the 210. Marvin Jones, 906, wide receiver 42. My feelings on this? Golladay will probably perform around that ADP, and I do not know why I cannot sell myself on Kenny Golladay. I just, for whatever reason, just have this thing that always tells me Kenny Golladay is too high, even though it's rare. So Marvin Jones, though, I think is a steal.
Yeah, Marvin Jones is a huge steal. It's incredible how late he's going. And for Kenny Golladay, you're drafting him high. But man, oh man, he's about to have 3 of his best years. These are his prime years, and when wide receivers get acclimated to their teams, he's also in prime years for when wide receivers show their explosiveness. He is a little bit more of an aged, younger wide receiver, if that makes sense. He's been in the NFL just a short amount of time, but he's already 26, I believe. So he's going to be eating for the next couple of years. In Dynasty, I don't love him, but in redraft, I think Kenny Golladay is being drafted 8th and has the potential to hit top 5. If Matthew Stafford plays 16 games and throws 5,000 yards like he was on pace for, there's no reason why Kenny Golladay can't be just as good, if not better, than any wide receiver in the NFL.
Well, and if that's what happens and he goes for 5,000 yards, then both of these guys are going to be close to wide receiver 1 in Golladay and Marvin Jones.
And let's not forget, Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay led the NFL in pass receiving touchdowns last year come week 8.
Yeah, and that was all with Matt Stafford. So, Golladay still managed 110 plus targets and over 1,000 yards with half of his season playing with, essentially nobodies. And really Marvin Jones was kind of on a similar pace if it weren't for injuries. So, I mean, you got to believe both guys have the potential to be wide receiver 1s, especially if Stafford even plays 14 games.
And as Dan alluded to earlier, that defense is only going to be worse. So,
a lot of throwing.
Marvin Jones is the biggest steal I've seen in this series, I think. One of them.
He's
no love. Ever.
Right next to the other guy that I'm getting in every single draft that I possibly can.
TJ Hawkinson?
TJ Hawkinson. I fucking love Hawkinson this year. Just again, he just comes in that slew of tight ends where you're just picking out, your hyper athletic ones that you are hoping to just hit. And again, a lot of throwing. They don't have a wide receiver 3. And we've seen tight ends be productive with Stafford. And we got to see the ceiling of what Hawkinson could be as early as even week 1. Granted, it was against the Cardinals, but no one knew how bad the Cardinals were going to be
Against
at
tight
that
ends.
point.
Yeah.
Tight ends. And he was hurt for most of last year. I'm all aboard. Like we've seen some of these elite tight ends break out as early as year 2. I'm not saying that Hawkinson's going to get to that point, but I'm willing to take a chance on him just based on how we viewed him coming out of Iowa.
Well, the draft capital and the athleticism and the pedigree in double-digit rounds where you're just taking dart throws anyway, guys that could potentially stick, hell, you might as well.
Yep. Working out with George Kittle. He's looking like a beast.
Oh,
too.
my
He's putting
God.
on pounds.
Uh-huh.
Always good to see.
Yes. Always.
Hawkinson should blow up this year, in all honesty. Also, don't sleep on Danny Amendola in deep leagues. PPR purposes, Matthew Stafford will find him. He's not going to be elite in any way, shape, or form. But deeper leagues, if you have the roster spot, I don't think he's the worst person to stash. But TJ Hawkinson, oh boy, he's going to be good. He's going to be really good this year. And it's going to be fun to see Matthew Stafford with an actual capable tight end. I'm sorry, but I'm not putting, obviously, Eric Ebron doesn't go in there, and Brandon Pettigrew doesn't go in there, and Joseph Fourier doesn't
I was
go in
about
there.
to throw out for you. How dare you?
No, I mean, I love him. He's a
How
great dancer. Don't get me wrong.
dare
Don't
you
get me
be
wrong. I'm trying to
smirched
get
here
him-
for you?
I'm trying to get him on my podcast, but the all intents and purposes, he's never had a tight end like this. And Eric Ebron should have been and could have been and showed potential that maybe he could have been if Detroit maybe was a little bit less aggressive with him and the fan base and booing him so quickly in his career, which I always thought just diminished him. And yeah, he had bad drops, but we were like Philly fans, which is something Detroit never does. We just hated him from the second we drafted him, and it wasn't even him. We just drafted. We hated the fact that the Lions went and got Eric Ebron this early after the slew of wide receivers that never hit for us earlier in the 2000s. So it was just like a bad recipe for poor Ebron. He went to Indianapolis and showed he could be a talented tight end. I honestly have no problem throwing darts at him late this year in Pittsburgh. I think he could step up and be pretty good if Ben Roethlisberger comes and plays well in Pittsburgh, which I am assuming. I'm big on Connor, Juju, and Ben this year. And for that reason, I don't mind sliding in Eric Ebron. But it'll just be fun with Matthew Stafford and an actual capable tight end in TJ Hawkinson, who's about to just come in and eat.
Ryan Broyles, what could have been.
Ah,
Right?
God. He was smart with his money, though. That's the one thing I always remembered about him.
Titus Young.
Now there's the story. I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on that guy.
Titus Young? Yeah.
Was it like 30 seconds, 30 for 30?
It would just be, I'm better than Calvin Johnson. They'd be like, well, what if I told you he wasn't?
What if I
This is
told
30
you that
30
didn't
seconds.
happen? Yeah.
Sorry.
See, that's a good idea. It's $1 million idea. ESPN's 30 for 30 seconds. Do little shorts, like Marvel has their little shorts. You know what I mean?
That'd be good. It'd just be like Jamarcus Russell.
But then they could do it as ads. You know what I mean? So that's your YouTube ad.
Yeah,
So
smart.
now you're watching 30 for 30 seconds instead of a Downy commercial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or whatever I might have been talking about 5 minutes ago when YouTube decides to be weird.
Yeah, that's true.
Will Heller. I don't know. I was going back looking for obscure Lions tight ends, and that name keeps coming up.
I don't know if I could place Will Heller, to be all honest with you.
He was on the roster apparently between 29 and 2013, on again, off again. I don't know. Dan Gronkowski was there at one point in time too. I think he was a fullback though.
Yep. Stepmom went to college with a tight end, Casey Fitzsimmons, for us back in the day.
Yeah.
04.
I know the name.
Yeah. Random. I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole, but yeah.
We went so late. Just like, all right, how many tight ends can we name from Detroit over the last?
There is not a soul going to be listening at this point in this show right now. I can promise everybody that.
Luke Wilson, Joe Foria, Darren Fells, David Hill,
Luke
Will
Wilson.
Heller,
Darren Fells.
Tony Scheffler, Casey Fitzsimmons, Tim Wright, Charlie Sanders, Matt Mulligan,
Logan Thomas,
Logan
Levine
Thomas,
Toiluolu,
Bear Pasco,
Pasco.
Oh, Levine Toilolo. Yeah, that guy. Dan Gronkowski, Orson Charles.
This is the time where we just hit the end. We just hit the exit and we just name off tight ends as we leave.
And that's our show. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am at Hot BFF with 2 P's. Nick, one more time, where can the people find you?
You just find me on Twitter at Nick Faber NFL, and then you'll find all my podcasts on my.
Awesome. I am not at Beerfield FF. We're at Beerfield FF. Dan, any parting words?
This has been one of my favorite random episodes ever. I feel like this is a perfect way to go out on 300. Just reading off Detroit tight ends. It just feels very symbolic somehow to us.
Okay, hold
on. With Nick.
Hold on.
Don't sleep on Jesse James.
Jesse.
Bro dog.
Jesse James. Hey, Fantasy Headliners Draft Guide. They actually have real advice that isn't just reading off randoms, Lions, tight ends. It's apparently really hard to find a list of.
What are you doing?
A list of what?
Looking for Lions, tight ends. Okay, whatever. I'm not doing this. For Dan Theory, Nick Faber, Kellen Davis. Yeah, Kellen Davis.
Kellen Davis?
Yeah, I didn't know he was a. That can't be. Oh, did he play for the Lions ever? He was a Bears tight end.
You think of Kellen Winslow?
No, Kellen Davis. Apparently, was he ever a Lion?
Golly, I don't even remember. I kind of remember the name as a Bear.
I know he played for the Bears and was like 6'7" with no hands at all. One of those former
I was
basketball
saying
guys. He did.
We should do a trivia game with random quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers, and possibly tight ends from the NFC North, and have a Packer, a Viking, a Bear, and a Lion, and we'll have a trivia show, a Jeopardy-esque show. Wouldn't that be a fun idea?
It would be a fun idea, but in the place like Kellen Davis, who played multiple years for the Bears, 5, and had 3 total targets with the Lions in 2014. How do you classify that?
That would be a great question. That would be $1,000 question right there. Daily double.
Daily double. All right. Obscure NFC North trivia coming to an episode near you.
Yes.
I don't even remember what we're doing next week. Do we have Shane on next week?
Yeah, we're doing the NFC East.
All right, cool. NFC East next week with Shane from Dynasty Trades HQ. That'll be another fun one. That's sure to go off the rails.
There's gonna be a lot of swearing. I could not. I expected Nick to swear more. I expect every other word to be fuck from Shane. I'm so happy for it.
I'm sorry I let us down on the swearing machine. I did kind of tone it down. I was I don't know. I was just feeling a good conversation. The swear words weren't flowing out right now.
That's fair. That's fair.
And we definitely had one.
For the NFC East show, go NFL, go Washington NFL.
Yeah, no, we definitely will. I'm just going to call them by a different, not racist mascot name every time I mention their name.
The Washington Favors.
The Washington Porcupines.
The Washington Roadkill.
Yes.
The Washington Squirrels.
My God, look at that Washington platypus walking around. Is that Darius Geis?